Today on the LA Food Podcast, congratulations, dear listener. To paraphrase the poet Aubrey Graham, we the fucking best, we the fucking best. 3 LA restaurants, Cato, Holbox, and Providence, were named on the world's 50 best's first ever list of North America's 50 best restaurants. No small feat that deserves a hand-numbing round of applause in and of itself. The question is, how much should you care? Should you brush it off as the dribble of outsiders who are way late to the game? Or maybe you should be incensed that these were the only LA restaurants to make the cut. As you've come to expect, we've made one of our trademark frankly psychotic spreadsheets to get to the bottom of it and provide you with some takes that go way deeper than yay or nay. But first, Father Saul and I hit up Baby Bistro this week, the restaurant that New York Times' Tejal Rao called the perfect Los Angeles restaurant for right now. Did Miles Thompson's Baby live up to the hype? Listen to find out. Plus, in Chef's Kiss Big Miss, Zoran Mumdani the foodie? Classic American steakhouses versus modern international interpretations? A brand new review format for Eater? And a couple more, just because it's been a tough week and I feel like you've earned it, dear listener. A reminder that the LA Food Podcast is presented by the Acquired Taste Media Network. Be sure to listen to our sister podcast, Takeando with Bill Esparza, and please consider leaving all of our shows a rating or review wherever you listen. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, and without further ado, it's time to shout out. The LA Food Podcast is presented by The Lonely Oyster. Unwind at The Lonely Oyster's Echo Park Night Watch. Did you know that every night is industry night at The Lonely Oyster, dear listener? Stroll in after 10 p.m. nightly for a one-of-a-kind experience designed for the night owls and hospitality pros. Indulge in $12 handshake cocktails, expertly crafted liquid chef concoctions, delicious late-night hot bites, and chef's choice dozen oysters. More than just a place to unwind, The Lonely Oyster warmly welcomes industry professionals, providing a space where like-minded individuals can connect, relax, and enjoy the camaraderie that comes with the late-night scene. Whether you're looking to kick back after a long shift or simply enjoy the vibrant atmosphere, late night at The Lonely Oyster is the perfect rendezvous for those who appreciate good company and great food and drinks. Don't miss this nightly affair and let the good times roll at The Lonely Oyster. Welcoming back to the LA Food Podcast, a man who is going to be very upset with me come 9:30 a.m. this Saturday. Saul, how are you preparing to be in a good mood when we take in Chelsea-Liverpool at Cosman Inglewood?
I haven't done this yet, but I plan to make a bet with you on that game that I will inevitably win, which will make the early wake time on a Saturday feel all the better.
I've got such a backlog of bets. Are you sure you want to keep adding to my misery?
Yeah. What are you talking about? It's a little, I feel, it's more that I feel like a creditor at this point where I'm like, he's going to pay me back? It's kind of like you're literally like, I feel like a loan shark.
Yeah.
I'm like the mafia and you're like making one more bet, but I kind of want you to because I kind of want to have that on you. So it's a little iffy.
My life right now is like Uncut Gems, and this very much just adds to the Uncut Gemsness of it all. So
who's your Kevin Garnett? That's the question. Who's going to be your KG and get you out of it?
Oof. I don't know. I feel like, if we want to make like a chef parallel, it might be like, Diego Argotti or something, right? It's like a friend who's also like, well established in this world and who I think would bend over backwards to help me if I needed it. That said, though, I don't know that he's got it like Kevin Garnett. That said, that's not a dig. Not a lot of people do have it like Kevin Garnett.
That makes sense, and I think that's actually a logical comparison. I was also kind of meaning like who's going to be the guy you bet on that like saves your ass, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like when you put it all on one person inevitably,
yeah.
Like let's say next spring, probably when all the finals are happening, who's it going to be? Who's going to save you?
Well, to come up with a food comparison, I would say I would put it all on John Yao and Cato to do a three-peat at number 1 on the 101.
Ooh.
So I'd actually say John Yao will be my Kevin Garnett.
I kind of love it, man. Let's see. Maybe you can hoodwink me into taking the bet. Who knows?
The bet is if John Yao gets a three-peat, all bets are canceled.
Yeah. Sad. That'd be a sad ending. I'm not gonna let you get away with that. Also, you better take me to Dunsmore and Funky before the next 101 comes out.
No. Yeah, no, that's definitely on the to-do list. Honestly, Dunsmore we can go whenever. Funky I've just been putting off for spiritual reasons.
Yeah, that's fair. I can tell too. I mean, it's Beverly Hills, right? Funky, where they're at.
Yeah.
Getting you out there has been a challenge, man. Getting you out west, it's been hard.
It's funny because I go west all the time. I was literally on the west side 4 times last week.
I know. I see your videos. It's fucking bullshit. You're canceling River, and I know you're in fucking Venice. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm doing more important things than getting dinner with you and Sammy. Listen, speaking of more important things, let's move on to our recent eat. Saul, you were in the Big Apple recently, and I understand it was such a good trip. It might have changed your mind on the city?
I went to New York in mid-September during what everyone told me was literally the most beautiful week weather-wise of the entire year. And it was really stunning. It was a great time. I got to catch up with some old friends, got to have some great food. And yeah, it made me a little nervous. It made me a little nervous, man, because about a year ago when the Dodgers were playing the Yankees in the World Series, I stood up here and I was like, look, we're just better. You can't argue it. And I think I actually said the line, just because you can get a slice of pizza down the block doesn't mean you have the best pizza.
Yeah.
Because the pizza we have over here can stand up to anything in the world here in LA. And after spending a week in Brooklyn, I was like, having a slice of pizza a block away kind of does mean you have the best pizza, just because this is more like an urban planning take than a food take. I think walking to your food, being able to hop out of your apartment and walk 2 blocks, take a train, even if it's a 10-15 minute train or whatever, just like you stand up and you walk out the door and you can get a slice to eat that's like, or a bagel or whatever that's like solid, makes it the best bagel or slice.
No.
It just is like there's something to like having a city that's like at your fingertips that makes the experience of taking in that city. I think this is like the New York thing. Like New York is a great city, whatever, primarily because it is a accessible, walkable city.
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal because I remember, I'll give you an example on the flip side. Sunday night, I won't name the restaurant. We went to dinner and it wasn't that good of a dinner. It was like a couple good apps and I had like probably the worst entree I've had all year. Like at this restaurant.
Wow, you have to at least tell us the entree if you're not going to tell us the restaurant.
It was a braised short rib.
Why was it shit?
It was like a safe, completely unseasoned. Like I don't usually talk shit to. Like, yeah, you know me. I was like eating it and I was like, oh my god, this is bad. Like Max would fucking blow his head off in this restaurant. I was like, oh, this is legitimately bad. It's like not good. Like they've never even heard of salt here. I don't understand. Which was weird because some of the appetizer dishes were legitimately very good. And the restaurant was literally right around the corner. It was a nice restaurant generally. Like the vibe was good. Most of the meals were most of the dishes were good. It was like this weird thing that just didn't, with one weird plate that I happened to order that did not hit. And we just walk around the corner and go home and just go and we're chilling out and watching TV. And if it was in LA or most other cities, we would have driven 25 minutes to that restaurant. Like to get that right, like from where we are in our nice residential spot and wherever to get like downtown to wherever we eat the restaurant. And you have that entree and you're like, damn, that was like my night. My night was that entree. But in Brooklyn, in New York, wherever, like it's like, oh, that was just like a moment and we can go and like it's still sunny out and we can stop by and we can, hey, fuck it, let's grab a slice on the way home. Who cares? Like there's something to it that literally makes the experience more delightful. For me at the very least. I will say that. Now again, I'm not saying that means the food is better. This is not a food judgment.
Fair.
Right? But it is an experiential judgment. I think it does matter. I think it matters a lot.
I will say that experience can turn on a dime though if like you have friends who live, let's say you live in Brooklyn and they live on like the Upper West Side or something and they invite you to a dinner there and it's fucking snowing outside. It quickly goes from being the best food city to being the worst city.
That I think is very true. And what people emphasize while I was like there with my eyes wide, I'm like, holy shit, like this is really, really pretty good. And they're like, look, sometimes it's raining sideways and you don't get to do this, and it is pretty rough. And look, and so I do believe like my priors of New York are still there. I just had like a night. Look, I had a couple delicious meals, man. I had a New York bagel from Shelsky's.
What is that? Is that a famous bagel place?
It was just like, it's like apparently a known place. I don't know, just like a good bagel.
Yeah.
And it was, and I was like, but it was like a standard, like, oh, here's like a solid like New York bagel.
So better than Courage because you're a Courage hater.
No, it wasn't. What was interesting to me about the bagels in New York was they're really sandwich focused, like really, really heavy sandwich focused. And I'm an open face guy, and there weren't a lot of options for that. I didn't know why. Just thinking the ones in my vicinity.
I am too. Why don't you like a bagel sandwich?
I don't not like it. I do prefer open. I don't know. It's just that's just me. I'll have like a bacon, egg, and cheese like that. I'll do that.
No.
But like my first shot is like an open faced lox kind of situation.
Yeah.
And they had sandwiches.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit different. So but the bagel itself, I was like, see that there is a difference. There is a little bit of a difference. Not saying it's better, but it is different. And we don't have what they have bagel wise.
You're just saying it's easier, is what you're saying.
No. That's not the only thing I'm saying. Like, I think the bagel was legitimately very good. And we don't have a bagel like that. They also don't have a bagel like Courage that I had tried, right? Or possibly Layla's. I did try Layla bagels.
You're good on that.
Lindustry Pizza, at your recommendation, number 1 on your pizza crawl.
Well, see, that's funny. Giving me credit for recommending Lindustry is like giving like your boss credit for saying that like you should go to Venice. It's a known thing.
It's a known thing. I'm not on Insta. Okay, I'm not on the gram anymore, so I don't see these things.
Yeah.
But it was number 1 on your crawl. I tried it. It was very good. The bake on it was very good. I prefer Secret Pizza.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, like flavor wise. I had the Lindustry slice and I had a pepperoni slice. And just flavor wise, I was like, I enjoyed eating Secret Pizza more than this. I'm a big Secret Pizza head, dude. I love Secret Pizza. Yeah,
I am too, man. I'll talk about a hot new pizza place I had recently, but Secret Pizza still reigns supreme, and I feel good saying that. Now, you kind of did the unthinkable, and you got tacos in New York?
I wanted to try what was one of the very highest rated, according to the Infatuation, tacos in the city, which is Taqueria Ramirez. I will say, good. Not nervous on that account.
Really?
Like, I was at the city and I was like, there is energy here and there's like kind of food here. I went to Maison Passerelle with our friend Nancy. That's Gregory Gourdet's new Afro-Caribbean restaurant in New York. Really, really fucking good. Like, really good.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man, there's stuff happening here. Went to a spot called The Fly, which is a sister restaurant named Hearts, which was like a couple of years ago, a very hot restaurant in Brooklyn, and they just specialize in like roasted chicken. I was like, roasted chicken, whatever. Fucking really good.
Why was the roasted chicken good?
I don't. It just tasted really good. I just don't get it. They're like, it's a chicken place. They do like half and whole roasted chicken. I was like, okay. And then I went in. I was like, oh my! Like, just like the way it was seasoned, the way it was cooked, it was fucking like juicy and like perfect and like almost melting in your mouth, kind of. But like,
and those are the kinds of insightful takes you're going to get on this podcast, dear listener.
Is that bad? I haven't talked about food in a minute, but anyway, the point is there was like very, very good food. The taco is nothing on us, like that. That's not a thing. The pizza I thought was like the cook on the pizza, New York pizza, really like it's hard to replicate. But Secret I would take over Lindustry every day of the week, I think.
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed walking around a beautiful sunny city when it's beautiful and sunny.
Now, did you go to the Lindustry in the West Village or in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
Okay. I was going to say, because that's the OG. I was wondering if maybe you got the watered down version, but no, it sounds like you got the real thing. That is very interesting. I liked, I do like a walkable city. I really do. I mean, we just moved to a neighborhood that is slightly less walkable than our previous neighborhood, and it's already making a little bit of an impact on me. However, I don't know. I just don't buy the like proximity argument in terms of like that's what makes it a better city. And we're going to get to comparisons between New York and Los Angeles in just a little bit here. My week was not as good as yours at all. We just moved. In fact, that's why I sound like I'm in a cave, because my office, which will become a podcast studio one day, has no furniture in it. And I didn't realize until I started recording that that's going to create one hell of an echo. So hopefully it's still listenable, dear listener. But we did have a lot of takeout. There's some great takeout options not too far from us. We did Pine and Crane. We usually do Joy, but this time we went Pine and Crane. Gotta say, little disappointed in the beef roll. Like, I remember it being a little crispier on the outside. This one was a little soft, not gonna lie. But overall, Pine and Crane is always elite takeout. Golden Deli, Vietnamese restaurant, makes for excellent takeout as
Mm.
well. But sort of like the most exciting thing I got to try was Bub and Grandma's. They just opened a pizza spot in the old town pizza spot on York.
Ooh.
So everything you know about Bub and Grandma's and their baking expertise applied to pizza. They've had like lines out the door around the corner ever since they opened, right? So we got it on our last night in the old place because we did the like traditional like cardboard boxes and pizza thing, right? Which is like something that I always romanticize when I'm moving. And then when I actually get to do it, I'm like, this doesn't hit as hard as it actually does in my mind because the day of moving has been so grueling. That said, it's a New York-esque slice. We opted, I know that you like to go for like the straight up cheese anytime you pick up a new pizza place, but I really wanted to try one of their special pies, and they have a bolognese pie, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a bolognese sauce on pizza, and I thought that would be a good compromise because it's basically just a cheese pizza with a little bit of meat in it. Okay, pizza wise, like actual dough wise, I still prefer secret pizza. And maybe like, I would say this could maybe crack like the top 25 overall in LA. Like it's that level. But I gotta say, the idea of a bolognese pie, never seen it before. And it really, really worked. Not to mention supli. You familiar with supli?
Yes.
Okay, well, my wife said that these are the best supli she's had in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Honestly, while I was having them, and we didn't even get them piping hot because we have to like take them home, after. That's the problem with takeout. You never get it piping hot, right? But even a little bit room temp with the mozzarella not fully melted, amazing supli. Some of the best I've had outside of Rome. So I would say Bubba Grandma's Pizza, maybe slightly, ever so slightly overhyped at this moment in time. They could, refine things to a place where they're top 10 in the city, maybe. Right now, I'd say top 25, but would definitely recommend next time you're in our neighborhood.
Nice. I like you being back in the pizza ranking mode, man. I missed that. It's OG.
I'll give you one hint as to what the final countdown might be next year.
The final countdown. Ooh, interesting.
Well, I'd like it to be the final countdown because eating 100 of something over the course of a year is incredibly difficult. And pizza is where it all started. If it is the final countdown, I'd like to bring it home with pizza.
Can I just say right now, and I should probably say this off camera, I want you to eat the 101, dude.
Ooh.
That's what I think you should do. I think you should. That's the way to go out. I mean, it's tricky because it drops mid-year, right?
No, drops at the end of the year.
The restaurant of the year drops mid-year. Yeah.
Which I think we're still waiting on, by the way.
Restaurant of the year for 2025?
Yeah.
Huh.
There hasn't been one since Baru.
Yeah, you might. Is that right?
I am right. I'm 100% right.
Yeah. What's the deal with that? You're right.
Bill, what the fuck? Where is it?
But anyway, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that's a nice, that is a capstone. That's the way to go out.
It's a capstone, but it's not my capstone. And here's why. I just don't feel good giving that much shine to one media outlet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to base my entire year off of one media outlet's perspective. I feel like that runs counter to everything we stand for.
That's a fair point. I see the argument. It is. I see the argument. Look, to me, it was just more like, oh, you eat 100 of something. There's a 101 restaurant. There's a kind of a kismet in that. But sure, I see the argument.
Well, speaking of restaurants that have received really good media attention recently, Saul and I did something that we don't usually do, is get to hot new restaurants in a somewhat timely fashion. We went to Baby Bistro on Tuesday night, just like a week after Tejal Rao of the New York Times drops a review calling it a perfect Los Angeles restaurant for right now. Now, everybody's seen Baby Bistro on social media. It's in that Victor Heights development that also houses Perilla and Cassell's right across the street from Eastside Deli. It is housed in like literally a little house, right? And it's got a little patio outside with some like makeshift tables, which if you show up as a walk-up like we did, they'll seat you there. Here's what we got the menu the night we went. We got the onion bread with zucchini and Tilem cheese, spaghetti squash with passion fruit, the fennel Caesar, which was an add-on, which we opted for, monkfish liver with salted plum, blue prawns in quote-unquote puttanesca with crunchy fried enoki mushrooms strewn atop, pork belly and figs, and of course for dessert, the very Instagrammable pine nut cookie. So What were your first impressions, and I'll say overall impressions of Baby Bistro?
Yeah, I'd been inside. I don't even know if we went in a timely manner. It's been hot for a minute, right? Like at least 6 months or so.
Yeah, timely for us.
Like yeah, that's right. We gotta do better, but
No, that's not our thing. I just that's not
yeah.
our thing. We let the hype happen. We let the opinions formulate, and then we go when the restaurant has had a chance to find its footing and see it in its final form. I think we do it the right way.
I guess so. I guess that's sort of true. I think we just kind of go when our schedules allow is more is more accurate. But if you want to,
That's true.
yeah, if you want to just like backwards explain it, that's fine. Impressions. Interesting. It was not what I expected based on what I'd heard. It was kind of like you're eating at a talented friend's house who's just kind of trying stuff out. Almost a pop-up vibe, right? Like almost like, hey, we're gonna try some stuff. I have not had a chance to try Bistro Blue yet, but I followed it on Instagram back in the day, and the food was similar, where it's like, hey, there's a person, and they're being creative with like fresh ingredients and putting stuff together in unique ways and presenting it in like there's clearly a lot of creative thought put into the dish, but they're presented very simply.
Yeah.
Even the menu, right? That's this vibe of like, hey, it's literally in the house, right? It's kind of like, come over, I made some shit. Come eat it. Yeah, come try this out.
Yeah.
It's shrimp with tomato.
And the servers all kind of have that vibe too. They're kind of like
Yeah.
they feel like the chef's cool friends who are just like in on it for the night, you know?
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, we were talking to the chef. He was like trying this out. And we're like, oh, you should pack this up and sell it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it kind of like a thing you would. So that was the vibe, and it was overall, I thought, enjoyable. I had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
There were some misses on the menu for me, this menu, but there were some real hits. Some things I thought were really really good.
It's weird because like this was one of those places that in the moment I can't say like so we had how many dishes? I'm going to count them real quick. We had 7 dishes, right? In the moment, I can't say that like I really enjoyed most of them. Like I think in the moment, I think I enjoyed like 2 of them, like straight up flavor wise, right? And those were the onion bread with zucchini. Okay, 3 actually. Onion bread with zucchini. That one is just like
Mm-hmm.
undeniably delicious, right? Like it's this pretty good, like airy focaccia soaked with olive oil, topped with like really well seasoned, thinly shaved zucchini, and it's got this like creamy cheese strewn atop. I like that dish a lot. It's impossible not to.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really fucked with the blue prawns because I love a whole prawn, right, with head on and everything. But I gotta say, their take on a puttanesca, which was not traditional at all. Yes, it had tomato, but like it had these crunchy fried enoki mushrooms, right? It had sort of like
Mm-hmm.
twists that I think were Diego Argotti-esque, honestly, in terms of like recreating a dish that's familiar with outside influence. So I like that.
Yep.
And honestly, I was a sucker for the pine nut cookie. Like I did like the pine nut cookie a lot. Like the actual cookie itself had a great balance of sweetness and salt. And people like, you and my wife, I think were a little thrown by like the cucumber and the vinegar on top, the vinegar spritz. I thought that was great. I thought it balanced out the sweetness of the cookie in a really like Moorish way. Like it kept me going back because I didn't quite grasp it in my brain on first bite, and I had to keep going back, right, to like really like wrap my head around it.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly could have had probably 2 cookies. I really enjoyed it. The other dishes though, they didn't hit in the moment,
Hmm.
but I can't stop thinking about them now. Does that make sense? Like I've been thinking about that pork belly with the pistachio, labneh, and figs. Like I'm not really a pork belly guy, so that's kind of my bias, right? But thinking back on it, I just can't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. Like it's a dish that has stayed in my mind.
I generally agree with you. I actually thought 5 out of the 7 dishes hit as we ate them.
Whoa, that's high.
Yeah, well, like the reason why it feels high, dude, is because they give you these relatively small, simply presented portions that we split around among 3 people, and you end up getting like actually not a ton of food, which is okay.
Yeah.
Like that's totally fine, but it is kind of like that is like they're like the portion size means that you can't really like the pork belly. I thought was really good when we were eating it. We each got basically 2 bites of it, I think.
It's
right?
true.
Each
Yeah.
the 3 of us, right? The monkfish liver with salted plum, which I thought was kind of the most unique and interesting dish
Hmm.
that we had and was really delicious. I really liked it. you got like a quarter of it,
Yeah.
basically. Like you just had like a little corner of it. I think that's kind of why. But if you just have the food itself, like to me, the two things that we had two dishes that missed, and they were both kind of the salads. Interestingly, spaghetti squash with passion fruit and the fennel Caesar, where they just didn't really like make that much of an impression.
Well, I think the fennel Caesar, you're right. I think didn't make an impression, but it was inoffensive. And if anything, I've thought back on it, and I'm like, I think that has a place on the menu, especially if you think about this as a tasting menu, right? Like I think that has a place.
Sure.
The spaghetti squash, still, I've been thinking about it, but not in a good way, if that makes sense.
I did not like eating that.
Yeah.
I did not like eating
Yeah.
it. But the onion bread, you're exactly right. And I think the monkfish liver, the prawns, the pork belly, and the pine nut cookie were all like really fun and interesting. I think Diego is an interesting person to like reference here, because to me, this is like this is like sober Diego. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is like
He went last night, by the way. I saw on his Instagram.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh no way. Yeah. Like it was. I think there are like to the headline of Tejal's review, which is like this is a perfect Los Angeles restaurant for right now. I think that's two things. I think that is capturing like these places like Baby Bistro. I think are sort of like the capstone on the wine bar era.
Yeah.
A little bit. Maybe they're not the capstone, but they are like it evolved, right? Like you go from like your more simple, highly likelies. You get your stir crazies which are like
Sam's Place.
Sam's Place, exactly. And then Baby Bistro is kind of like taking them and elevating them to the next level, I think, food wise and in terms of ambition.
Yeah.
But with what seems to be like this isn't as in your face as it was at Poltergeist. Like Poltergeist, it was like, bam, I'm from LA. This is like all like the craziest flavors and shit, and I'm whipping stuff up in the kitchen, and it's like punching you in the face, and it's awesome.
Dear listener, Saul's head was moving so fast in a gyrating motion right now. It just blurred on Riverside. It almost crashed the system.
That's how it feels. That's how it felt to eat Poltergeist. Honestly, that's what I experienced eating that food. Whereas at Baby Bistro, I'm like, oh, there is stuff here, but it's like subtler. It's a quiet night. It's a quiet night at home. At the restaurant's home, right? You're not in a barcade, right? It's not loud with like loud sounds popping off. It's this, and I don't know if I see as clearly the different influences coming together on this menu as I did on Diego's, but you do kind of feel like this is someone who like just understands Los Angeles at a deep level, understands the ingredients here, and wants to and like is being creative and out of the box with them in ways that like more often than not work. That was my Baby Bistro.
So Tejal called it in her review. The reason she said it's a snapshot of what LA food stands for in 2025, the line specifically is, it's a slightly eccentric, seasonal style of food you won't find anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Do you think that about sums it up?
I think so. I think there are a lot of places I thought there were a lot of places in New York that were doing very similar food, but maybe a little bit less eccentrically, right? Like it's just kind of like, and maybe that just means like no one else is doing it, right? Like maybe it's that simple. Like, yeah. But I thought there were places in maybe it's like a small little niche, a little like kind of ethereal. It's a very light meal to me. It's a very like almost like kind of airy, which is funny because you had this really heavy focaccia. But yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I did not feel it did not feel like a singular meal to me while I was eating it. I was like, I feel like I could get like there.
Yeah, but I think that's the magic of it. To me, that is the artistry of it, because I do think on its face, you get there and you're like, oh great, I'm gonna have a Sam's Place. I'm gonna have a stir crazy experience. And all of these like really subtle twists they're hidden. They're like basically hidden. And I actually think the dish that failed, the spaghetti squash, is the one that put the twist front and center in a way where you were like, what the fuck is this? It was the passion fruit with the spaghetti squash and that like weird crumble that they put on top that was like very cinnamon forward. I think it was cinnamon. It had a very strong spice basically. To me, that's the dish that failed because it was so in your face weird that I was like, no, I'm here for like what feels like wine bar fare. That's interesting in a way that pulls me in to learn more, but on its face could be seen as just another like stir crazy Sam's Place dish. So to me, that's what makes it unique. But to your point, I'm not sure that it's uniquely LA. I just think it's unique to like this generation of chefs.
Yes, I think there's like a mini era here that's happened, right? Yeah. Of like the wine bar bistro. People love bistros right now, I think. Like that bistro idea.
People love their fucking bistros, dude.
Yeah, like the kind of the new bistro sort of thing where it's like Yeah, like I think that's exactly the right way to put it. And something like the cucumber and squid salad, which Tejal refers to in her review that we missed because it was on the prior menu. It seems like a really successful dish, and that's like just not something you would have got
Yeah.
at Sam's Place or Stir Crazy. Like I think that dish was maybe like a real proof of concept. And I think there are a couple of things on this menu still that are like that.
It would have looked, but it would have looked like it could have been on a Stir Crazy
Yes,
menu,
yeah,
I think.
totally.
When it hit the table.
Totally,
You would
yeah.
have been like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
could have seen this, getting this on Melrose at Stir Crazy. But it's the small touches, it's the subtle touches, it's the fact that, you know, the crunchy bit on the shrimp with these fried enoki mushrooms that felt like Cheetos that I just wanted to eat a bag of. It was that kind of thing to me that makes it unique. So, in sum, Baby Bistro, would you go again?
When they have a new, I'm not rushing back, but like for this menu because we've had it. But I would go check out that like when their menu turns. I would see.
That's exactly why I would go back. Like,
Yeah.
I think this chef, Miles Thompson, has showed me enough to be like, okay, I'm intrigued. I want to see like what the next iteration is. And it's not something, apparently the dish doesn't change wholesale all the time. It's
Yeah.
like a dish changes here, a dish changes there. And then every so often you get a whole new menu by virtue of a dish changing. So I would go back in like fall, right? To see like what he's doing with the fall ingredients.
Isn't it fall right now? It's October.
I guess technically, but AC isn't working in our apartment, so like it feels like the dead of summer right now, bro.
AC's not working.
No, it's rough. It's rough.
Can't live like that.
Echoey and no AC. I'm ready to end it all, bro. Anyways, so look, Baby Bistro. Personally, I recommend. I know that there's mixed reviews out there that you'll find, but I think I'd say a 65 or 70% of the Tejal meter of enthusiasm.
Yeah, literally, I feel the same way. Where so Tejal literally gave it 3 stars on her review. To me, it was a 2-star at best. It was like a 1 to 2 star. Like,
yeah,
they say like no star is like fine to like not great. 1 is good, 2 is very good, 3 is like excellent, and 4 is maybe like world class. To me, it was like a good to very good.
I think it has potential for 3.
Yeah.
But like, I just think it's not there right now. But I see it and I appreciate it. And Baby Bistro, I want you to know, if you're in the unlikely event you're listening to this, you have our support.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, speaking of restaurants that are making names for themselves, that are getting on lists, something big happened last week, Saul. Do you know what I'm referring to?
I think I do. Am I supposed to say it? You're looking at me expectantly. Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not. I always look at you expectantly, and I am always let down. The organization behind the world's 50 best held a massive ceremony in Las Vegas, which, by the way, we should go to next year, announcing the first ever list of North America's 50 best. And you bet your ass, dear listener, that I made an insane spreadsheet that Saul probably does not approve of because it's not done to his expectations. However, it let us, I think it's going to lead to us having a pretty interesting conversation. Now, the major headlines include that New York's Atomics snagged the first ever #1 spot. And from a Los Angeles perspective, 3 restaurants made the cut: Providence at 47, Holbox at 42, and Cato at 26. Oh, because you're a process whore. Let's start here. What do you know about the World 50 Best's process?
What I know about the process, I think it's like they have a specialized group of like journalists, chefs, writers, restaurant industry folks who across different regions, right? Like, so within North America, they have different regions. There's a head of each region. Each chef can like nominate, their restaurants that should be considered. And then there's a second layer. I'm going off top from like literally the last time we did World's 50 Best. And then they eventually have to, there's like a second layer of voting, and they have to vote restaurants. At least a couple have to be outside their region, right? So you have to like, you can't like, have favorites in your backyard. And then from there, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Do you have it?
No, I don't have it. I was actually hoping that was the one bit of homework I could give to you. But I feel like,
oh my gosh,
I do think though, like criteria is kind of like uncertain on this, right?
No, it's not. Well, it's actually not uncertain. They literally say it can be anything. There's like no expectation, which is why it's all the more interesting that the same type of restaurant gets on the list over and over again. It's like a cultural.
Yeah.
It's more, I think, a reflection of the culture of the voting body and of the World's 50 Best, and how those folks maybe implicitly define best restaurant, because the competition, at least publicly, very explicitly states there's no, you don't have to be like white tablecloth or tasting. There's like nothing like that, right? It can be any food, but the same sorts of styles.
That's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't know if they've proved that. I don't know if they've proved that out.
I feel like that's like Trump level arguing that the inauguration was sold out. You know what I mean? It's like, no, any kind of restaurant can make it. Look at the list. And it's like, I'm looking at the list. That's clearly not the case. Anyways, let's dive into the spreadsheet. Let's start with geography, okay? New York City, maybe unsurprisingly, dominated the list. 12 of the 50 restaurants, which is almost a quarter, were from New York City, making it the single most represented city. This ranged from Atomics at number 1 to newer entrants like Penny, which is a raw bar, at number 40. Sticking with geography, Canada had a strong showing as well, which I think is kind of like built into it since it's North America's 50 best. But Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Quebec City, and Lincoln, Ontario, together made up 10 slots. Besides New York City, California was the powerhouse state, with 9 entries across San Francisco, LA, and Healdsburg, led by Single Thread at the number 8 spot and Bennu at the number 13 spot. Kind of an interesting emerging trend, the South made a strong case for emerging region to watch, with cities like Charleston, Nashville, and especially New Orleans securing significant recognition. So, did this geographic distribution surprise you in any way?
I mean, the only thing I maybe was like, I don't know Canada like that, so I was like, oh, cool, we gotta go eat in Quebec, like, or Montreal, right? Like, there's stuff out there. No, but otherwise, it's about right. Like, look, there are some LA restaurants that I like would have thought might have placed. Your Somnies, we like Vespertine. I like Vespertine. It's out there. Like those kinds of stuff. I mean, spots, even Hayato,
Yeah.
Hayato, like, which is I think consistently kind of number 2 or top 3, right behind Kato. I would have all thought they had a shout, but again, I appreciated the general region diversity. I would be surprised if, let's say, the last 3 of the New York restaurants, like 3 out of those 12, really hit. Like, I should say more specific. I bet 3 of those restaurants could have been from elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Like, or 2 at least, right? Like, I think that's probably true. But for an inaugural list, it makes sense that they would recognize heavily, obviously, New York City, which has the best fine dining and best fine dining reputation in America. And I think the Bay Area had a decent like representation as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some dubitable shouts, right? Like, I feel like we just mentioned Penny at number 40. Now, this is a raw bar that opened above a...
Dubitable? Is that what you said? Dubitable shouts?
Yeah, isn't that like you can doubt it?
Yes.
Dubious? I think, can you also say dubitable?
Dubitable. I have not heard that.
If it's a word...
Open it out. No, you're fucking right, dude. I stand corrected. Wow. I have not heard that.
Hell yeah. Sorry that I favor old English over the modern nonsense you rock with.
I guess, indubitably, I guess it makes sense. I just have not heard that.
I like to flip things on their head, but no, I was saying Penny, right? It's this raw bar above a wine bar. It's a year and a half old, which, by the way, is a bit of an anomaly since I think the median age on the list is like 7 years. And it seems to me that you kind of have to be in business for a little bit to get on the list. But like, I would be shocked if like that is actually the best raw bar in the country. You know, like I'm not really sure how you judge a raw bar other than like sourcing, preparation, I don't know, experience maybe. But like, you want to tell me that Penny is seriously that much better than Found? You know, I'm not sure.
I don't know about Found. I love Found, but I think again, Penny, as I understand it, as I've seen videos of Penny, fancier, right? It's like not like the 50 best does not reward your like sidewalk seating kind of bar only something like it's for fancier shit. And as I understand it, Penny is like a little bit fancier.
I think if Found did a tasting menu, I don't think that's true because like Whole Bosch made it, right? But like if Found did a tasting menu, I think like they could maybe make a shout for it. It's
Whole Bosch has a tasting menu.
Yeah,
though, too,
Whole Bosch
right?
has a tasting
Whole Bosch
menu.
has Michelin and other recognition as well, which I know other rabbis do, of course. But yeah.
To me, I don't know. I think that the New York of the list, like to me, just kind of shows me that this is little bit of a self-selecting body potentially. Like you mentioned that restaurants have to submit themselves for this award. And I wonder if it's also a factor of like world's 50 best and this type of award just being of higher awareness and importance in a city like New York, because there are so many restaurants in New York that have been included in the overall world's 50 best. Like, for example, Atomics. By the way, Atomics is the only restaurant on this list that is also on the overall world's 50 best, which is kind of crazy to me. But second of all, like I remember in Will Godar's book Unreasonable Hospitality, they talk about world's 50 best like it is the ultimate sort of like prize, right? Like them, yeah, they put importance on getting a 4-star review from the New York Times for sure. But like the ultimate prize, the World Cup, so to speak, is to make it up the world's 50 best, is to like go up a spots and to get that number one spot. So I wonder if it's just like culturally speaking, from a restaurant's perspective, this is very much in the New York zeitgeist. So you got a really high number of New York restaurants also submitting themselves for this award.
I can actually get more detail on the process. So there was a North America Academy for the World's 50 Best that selected 300 independent restaurant experts drawn from the U.S., Canada, and Caribbean. They could have been chefs, restaurateurs, food and beverage journalists, educators, well-traveled gourmets, apparently also. Hey, buddy, get your name out there.
I'm good.
And then they had eight geographic subregions across North America. Each had a chairperson that selected the voting panel, and then each Academy member, each of those 300 people, cast votes for 8 restaurants. 5 can be in the same state or province. 3 must be outside. At least 3 must be outside of their own province, right? And then no requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So votes are corrected and tallied, blah, blah, blah. So that would suggest that the voting body, right, is diverse enough that like something that a New York concentration happened relatively organically, not because those restaurants had like the culture of submitting. I think like, but it could be that this selection, this body of 300 is more familiar or eats like just as a whole, even if they're from Canada, eats more often in New York than they do even like in New Orleans or wherever else, Seattle, right?
I was going to say the exact same thing. It's kind of like if you give people the task of submitting 5 restaurants from their own city, for example, that's kind of the implication there, right? And then 3 from elsewhere. Like, yeah, they're gonna talk about restaurants where they travel or like the restaurants that are most famous out there. So it would stand to reason that out of all of those judges, like who are not from New York, they would include a New York restaurant in their submissions, right? So yeah, it's kind of like maybe just a flaw of the process in terms of like who the judges had to pick from. But still, I mean, I would expect New York to have the most places on this list. 12 just seems super fucking high to me.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it does yet. I mean, this is year 1 of this, right? It'll be curious to see. I also had the thought, like, because this is year 1, how much of it was like, we got to give New York the flower.
Yes.
This is almost, there's almost like a, backfilling in. These are New York restaurants that arguably should be on the world's 50 or 100 that don't make it year over year.
Or have been,
right? Atomics has, I think, been on there, right?
Le Bernardin was on the list too.
Yes, of course. Yeah. But like, I do wonder how the dynamic will change or how this list will change year over year. It does seem to be relatively consistent for the world's 50, right? Like you do see the same. Maybe it's more that like now these are the incumbents and they're going to be hard to remove because everyone kind of sees them there already. That might be in fact more likely.
Yeah.
But hopefully, yeah. I'm just. It's cool that we have this, I guess, in North America. It'll be cool to see how it evolves. Cool to see Michael C. Marusti also recognized. He won like an individual award. That's the only award I think exclusively voted on by other chefs. Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's a real. I mean, I think the reason why World's 50 Best gets the level of acclaim it does within the industry apparently is it is maybe the heaviest peer-to-peer award, right? More so than like Michelin or LA Times or New York, which are journalist awards. This has the greatest peer-to-peer thing, which I think means we should also kind of give it more weight.
I think so too.
And I think it says something that the fact that chefs and restaurant industry folks are voting and they consistently make tasting menus, and kind of like more expensive tablecloth restaurants, the things that they want to recognize. I think that's significant. I think it's like of note. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like PFA Players of the Year versus like the overall, Player of the Year in the Premier League. Like, I care more personally about PFA Players of the Year because it's cool to see who players wish they could be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's similar here, and it's almost like what I'm thinking about a restaurant. Like, yeah, I guess it's cool if you go to a place where a reporter who's been to a million different restaurants tells you that this is special for XYZ reasons. But in the same breath, so many reporters and so many loudmouths who are out there talking about stuff have never actually worked in professional kitchens, like
Mhm.
including ourselves. Hold our
That's
hands
right.
up, right? Like what I mean is like
Loud as fuck. We're loud as fuck.
loud as fuck, dude. We're the loudest voices in the room. We own it. But I will say, like, there's something to people who have seen behind the curtain, who know like actually how impressive something is from like a technical standpoint, right? Their opinion matters to me. So that's why I place value on this personally. Now let's talk cuisine type and style. Now, the tasting menu is king when it comes to this list. Half the restaurants serve nothing but a tasting menu, with many others having a tasting menu in addition to a la carte options. Another interesting trend is that Asian cuisines had a serious presence. Korean, Japanese, Thai, Vietnamese, and Taiwanese drove nearly a quarter of the list. Mexican restaurants also had a notable showing with 7 shouts. Interestingly, though, the highest ranking Mexican restaurant was Toronto's Quetzal at number 11, with 4 Mexican restaurants beating out LA's Holbox. Caribbean flavors is a little bit of a rising trend, with 3 entries paying homage to cuisines of the region. So a little bit of nice validation of my point earlier this year that Caribbean food is having a moment. So let's touch on the tasting menu aspect first. I think you kind of already covered it with what you just said, but does the degree of elevated fine dining betray a certain list elitism, or is it really just that chefs place a value on that? And that's if they could do anything, they would do tasting menus.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit of both. I think elitism might be the right word. I guess. I think it's more likely that when like a tasting menu is a chef flex, right? It allows the chef to have total control over like what he's serving each night. And I can imagine, again, we don't know the exact makeup of this body of voters. We just know that chefs and restaurateurs are included, as they are not in other on other awards. I can imagine there's like a little bit of like, whoa, like this dude's really doing something,
Yeah.
right? Whereas a like a Priya Krishna or a Tejal Rao is more like looking at a general like, hey, here's who like this restaurant's cool because like here's when and how you might eat it, and like taking into account what the restaurant's trying to do, right? That's like the thing we hear over and over again from The Infatuation. I heard it on this really good daily episode from the New York Times with Priya Krishna, and another critic at the New York Times. His name is escaping me, though he's a really big deal. Where it's like the goal is to assess like, what's this restaurant really trying to do, and like, are they doing it?
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, what, like how badass are you? I think it's like, how hard can you go, which kind of necessarily tilts it towards these particular dining experiences.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. What do you make of the prevalence of Asian restaurants on the list? I mean, 25% of the list being Asian restaurants. I mean, that's kind of significant.
Did you do this cuisine breakdown for World's 50 as well? This is a good breakdown. This is a good thing to do.
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I don't think I did.
I don't think you did either. I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing an uptick of Asian restaurants there too as well. I think.
But that makes sense, dude, because that's the whole fucking world. This is America and Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, even still, I think what I mean more is, I think Asian cuisines have taken like an elevated Asian cuisines, right? Your omakases and also your like various whatever I don't know, whatever your tasting menus of Asian food. I think there's been a real strong northern appreciation for that at the highest levels of dining. Really, I think that's like a last sort of 5 to 10 years sort of
10.
thing. Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm not surprised by it at all. I don't know what to make of it beyond. Maybe it's true that also like as we're mentioning the Afro-Caribbean like fine dining explosion, right? Eating Gregory's food or Kwame's food or whoever else is Khan making this list, right? I think that's still a nascent like elevation of that cuisine. Whereas I think Asian cuisine has been building that sort of foundation for having elevated, East and Southeast Asian dining for a little while.
I think it's also a reflection of immigration trends. You know, like we just have
Hmm.
much larger immigration trends in North America from Asian countries than we do from Caribbean countries. I mean, it's also much larger continent.
Is that right?
Well, it's much larger continent too, right? So like,
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's like more people. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and it's
yeah, yeah.
been like long standing too. So I think that that's a part of it. It does speak to me though that like a lot of the really exciting like fine dining openings around the country over the last 10 years have been led by Korean chefs, Taiwanese chefs, Japanese
Hmm.
chefs. Like I think there's something to that. I think it's like it could also be like investors putting their money where the market is responding to. And I feel like
Hmm.
there's just a huge hunger for that right now. Now, am I wrong to feel incensed that LA only has the fifth best Mexican restaurant on the list?
That seems odd.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there are places across the southern United States border, and like if we're just talking U.S., right, and not taking into account Mexico, which this list is not, that have great Mexican food. But I don't know. I don't think we can knock until we try it. Let's go eat some. Let's go eat some Canadian food, Canadian Mexican food, and see what they got going on.
I want to do Canada so bad, bro. I want to do it hard.
I think I think we got to do it, dude. This is Canada's year, man. Destination Canada, Top Chef, top like this North America list. Like there's a little moment happening.
Yeah, and honestly, like I read up on a lot of these restaurants. I mean, some of them sound just like fucking phenomenal experiences. There's one that's like in this
Yeah.
like one of the restaurants in Canada is in a literal like UNESCO World Heritage site. It's like these underground caverns. I mean, I don't even care if the food's shit. You could give me like Olive Garden there, and I'd probably like enjoy the experience, you know. So, just some great sounding experiences on at the 10 Canadian restaurants on the list. Other ones, I'm like, this sounds like I could get this in Eagle Rock, so I'm not 100% sure about. But a lot of them, you know, like sound pretty impressive. Hey, let's touch on demographics real quick. A lot of diversity on this list. I think more than half the list was made up of chefs of color. However, only 8 of the restaurants had female chefs, with 2 of those sharing their title with men as co chefs. Now, is that just a reflection of industry trends, or could it be a reflection of World 50 Best bias?
It's a reflection of Trump's America, bro. I'm joking. I don't know. I have no take on that. Again, this is the first time we've done this list. I don't know how many female chefs there are in North America as a whole. Like I don't have a particular take on that. It's cool. The level of diversity is cool. I mean, it's cool. It says a lot that this list came out and it wasn't like French and Italian fine dining white tablecloth in the Bay Area
Dude,
in New York.
yeah.
It says a lot. I mean, we've talked about that before. It says a lot about how much food has evolved in the last 10 years, and even if it's weighting heavily towards Asian, the fact that Mexican fine dining is as recognized as it is, and gradually Afro Caribbean is really really cool. And that, I mean, it's no surprise that it'd be really weird if it's like, check out all these Asian and African Caribbean restaurant, 99% white male chefs. It'd be like, something's going on there. Yeah. So no, that's not a surprise.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't, honestly, I would not put it past it. But it did piss me off when there were a couple of Italian restaurants by guys that didn't sound Italian. I was like, come
Mm,
on now. Come on
you're
now.
so oppressed, bro. You're so oppressed. It's wild.
So oppressed. But I will say,
Were there any South Asian restaurants on this list? I actually don't recall
I
seeing
don't think
any.
there was a single South Asian restaurant, bro.
That's disrespect, bro.
I wait,
That's
no,
disrespect right there.
no, I don't think so.
Maybe one of
No,
them.
I don't think so. I was thinking, um, I was trying. I obviously made the spreadsheet, so I was trying to think, but no, I don't think any Indian chefs, no Pakistani chefs. I was trying to think maybe there was a chef that like did Bangladeshi food, but no, I was thinking about the Zoran Mamdani article, which we're going to read in a little, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But no,
Oh boy, I've not pre-read the Chef Kiss Big Miss, and that makes me nervous.
I'm stoked. Look, sort of like almost wrapping up here with World's 50 Best. I'd love to quickly compare it to Michelin. So Michelin overlap is heavy at the top. Most top 15 spots on the list hold 2 or 3 stars. World's 50 Best does give shine, however, to cities outside of Michelin's coverage, like Philly, New Orleans, Nashville, Portland, and Charleston. And there are a lot of Michelin 3-star restaurants that just don't appear on this list whatsoever, right? And there are a couple 3 stars that are ranked surprisingly low. For example, Providence is at number 47, Quince in San Francisco is at number 48. Now, is this an indicator that at the end of the day, Michelin and World's 50 Best are much for muchness, just different outputs of the same inputs, or do you think that there's a noticeable difference between these two?
It's actually an interesting question. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that necessarily. Obviously different, I mean, probably like slightly different voting bodies. I've kind of like this year in particular, I'm kind of a 3 Michelin star truther right now.
What do you mean?
Like I find myself enjoying 1 and 2 Michelin star restaurants more than 3.
Yes, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Addison's not on the list.
Oh yeah, I guess you are correct. And I don't know, maybe there's something. Maybe I just have like there's like a closer, I don't know, tie I feel the world's 50 best chefs than reviewers and judges or voters or whatever than I do to the Michelin ones. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make beyond that though. Like
I think but I think you bring up something really interesting, that a 1-star restaurant can be way better in terms of experience and enjoyment than a 3-star restaurant.
Yeah,
and I feel like
100%.
that's what this list validates for me. It's like it speaks to something that you sound like a complete idiot saying when you're like talking about a 3-star restaurant, right? For me to say I had a better meal at Meteora than I did at Addison, right? Sure, I can see why people would take the piss.
Ooh,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, you don't have to, but I can say that. And the reason like I feel that,
Yeah.
okay, well, I think we both agree we had a much better meal at Cato than at Addison. And that's a 1-star
Yes.
versus a 3-star.
Yeah.
But this list kind of validates that, like,
Yeah.
if you just tweak the like requirements ever so slightly, I think it can lead to some interesting and, dare I say, better outcomes.
I don't think it's requirements. I think it's voting body. I think it's voting body, and I think it's culture. I think it's the culture of the voting body.
I think it's requirements too, though.
No, I don't think the requirement. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe a little bit. I understand that Michelin 3-star probably has, like, yeah, Michelin has different requirements than World City Best, which again, I do think they do really mean no requirements, and I think it's significant. The voting body is different, and I think it's true that like voting bodies and organizations develop cultures, right?
Yeah.
James Beard has a different culture and a different voting body than World City Best, than Michelin, than The Infatuation, etc. Right, and I think that also feeds into all this, and it's kind of like as we've done this for a couple of years now, the process has been really learning kind of like what is the posture that each of these lists / awards folks have towards restaurants and what their kind of core thing is. And I really find myself kind of shifting away. I think earlier this year I said it's really like a Michelin 3-star in LA is more meaningful than like a James Beard. I don't know if I think it is for a chef. It isn't for me anymore, just because I don't think I jibe with like the perspective.
I think globally, from a recognition standpoint, it still is, and it will be for a very long time. But in terms of like what I give a shit about, it doesn't mean anything to me, I think.
Yeah.
So let's end on LA, okay? LA got 3 shouts, a quarter of New York shouts, half of Northern California's shouts, and the same as Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. Is this disrespect or something else?
It's a little weird. I think there's something. So while this list didn't go to your, like, didn't lean heavily on your white tablecloth French Italian, it had it there, but it wasn't like what you might have expected 10 years ago or 15 or whatever. It did generally in the US basically reflect the geographies that you would expect. I mean, or the ratios of geographies are about what you'd expect, with some cool recognitions for your New Orleans and your Philadelphias and your Nashvilles and your Charlestons and so on, like popping up here and there. And I think LA still has it, like, fine dining wise, LA does not have the reputation of the Bay or New York yet, right? And I know this is not theoretically a fine dining list or whatever, but like I do think it seems to me, and I haven't eaten everywhere on the North America 50 best, I do think there would be room for like a Somni on this list, or a Nanaka even. Like I don't know. There's restaurants here that like fit the mold that weren't recognized. I'm not 100% sure what to make of that beyond the fact that like this is just where LA is still seen on a national / slightly regional basis.
Yeah, look, I think that, and this is my take, right? I mean, look, the median age of the restaurants on the list is 7 years old. The average is 11.4, which is somewhat skewed by old as fuck restaurants on there like Le Bernardin or Le Vaudor. But I think because this was the first iteration of this list, to me, it feels like there was maybe a pressure to give shine to restaurants that have been doing it for a while at like a certain level. And so I think there's an element of recognizing what has come before and that has influenced today. There's the exceptions. There are some restaurants that have been open for like 1.5 years to 2 years, but overall, like it's a lot of restaurants that have been at it for like 5 years to 10 years to 15 years, right? And so to me, this is like almost like the inaugural list that's meant to like be like, hey, we see you, and I'm interested to see what happens next year. One more question about LA, okay? I'd love to hear from you. Name two restaurants that you think could have rightfully made North America's 50 best this year.
Archipelago.
Okay, well, you went Seattle. I said LA.
Oh, right. Oh, I thought you said restaurants. I can't look. There's plenty of restaurants I could name, but I'm trying to think specifically of the ones that they would go for. Addison would be the other one. Like, look, that I've had in LA this year. Cato's already on there. We haven't been to Hayato. Anajac is not their style. Somni we haven't had, but I put that there. Or like another, whatever, like a sushi omakase. That's really good. I don't know. Like it would be something like that.
So here's my case, okay? Here are three restaurants I think could have reasonably made the North America 50's best. One, I totally think that Anajac actually is a restaurant that could have made this list. If you look at the list, there are some interesting Thai shouts, which basically when I was reading their description and what they've accomplished for the city and the place that they're in and for the cuisine, it described Anajac to a T. So I think that Anajac missed out probably because these other restaurants were included. So that's one. I think Justin was unlucky to miss out. Two, if we think about this list as a bit of like a recognition to what has come before, right? I'm not even like, this is not my favorite restaurant in LA by any means, but I think a Nancy Silverton restaurant like Osteria Mozza or Keith Baca could have made this list. And it's because of Nancy's influence on everything that has come after it. Like she basically invented the bread program at restaurants. She popularized an entirely new way of doing like pizza in America. I think that there could have been a case for a Nancy Silverton restaurant on the list.
I think she's more likely to win an individual award on this than a restaurant award. This potentially.
Yeah. Fair. And then finally, I would have loved to see a restaurant like a Jordan Kahn restaurant win.
Yeah.
I don't think Jordan Kahn gets enough love. I mean, obviously the obvious shout here would be Vespertine, but like, hey, I wouldn't have been fucking pissed if Meteora made it on.
No,
I feel like the last Meteora defender on the universe, but yeah.
Dude, no, Meteora was not as good as Vespertine, and like, and had clear like, it was a once. It was yeah. I would not call Meteora one of the 50 best restaurants. It was a great experience, to be clear, and it's really cool. But like, I don't think it's there. I think Vespertine could have been.
Okay, that's the definitive take on North America's 50 best. Are you down for a quick round of Chef's Kiss Big Miss?
Absolutely.
The New York Times Ligaya Michon reviewed 3 New York steakhouses offering modern international interpretations of the classic steakhouse. There's the Korean twist offered by Gui Steakhouse, the Daniel Boulud-led La Tête d'Or, and the Mexican-inspired Cuerno. At the end of the day, Michon argues that the classic American steakhouse is kind of in a if it ain't broke, don't fix it category, landing in a lukewarm place on all 3 establishments. Oh, Ligaya's take to keep steakhouses classic and American, Chef's Kiss or Big Miss?
Ooh, it's a little. No, I'm with it. I'm not mad at it. I didn't have a chance to try Mixo, right? I like a different kind of steakhouse. I guess I agree with the part where like American steakhouses have something good, don't fix it. But I love my Ma too, right? At the same time. Sorry, I sneezed. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a lukewarm. Lukewarm, it's fine. Just like the restaurants that you reviewed.
Well, I think Matu is in the mold of a classic American steakhouse, even though it's modern. So I wouldn't say that is a deviation. So I think your answer stands.
It is. Yeah.
All right, next one. Yeah. Eater LA debuted a new type of article called a dining report. It's more than just rapid-fire field notes, but not quite a review. For the inaugural ones, Matt Kang wrote about 88 Club, Mona Holmes covered Taqueria Frontera, and Kat Thompson wrote about G. Rong's Peking Duck. So, the new dining report format, Chef's Kiss or Big Miss?
Love the Eater reporters. Love generally what they do. I don't want to reward Eater right now. I mean, like, go read it. I'll check it out. I'm going in blind on all this stuff. I guess what I'll say is good for them. Good on them for trying new stuff. Like keep trying to innovate and come up with new forms and see what sticks, see what draws eyes. I'm not mad at that.
That's fair. A fair take from a fair man. Okay, the New York Times Priya Krishna penned a piece on how the New York City mayoral frontrunner Zoran Mamdani has very much centered food in his campaign. According to Krishna and the people she spoke about, Mamdani has a natural way of tying complex political topics like inflation and red tape to the Big Apple's everyday culinary delights, from the dollar slice to halal carts. He's also apparently a big fan of eating out, and does so with a degree of zest and regularity that might actually make him a good guest for this podcast. While food has a long-standing history of being involved in political campaigns, see J.D. Vance's infamous stop at the donut shop for reference, Krishna's piece argues that Mamdani has tapped into something new and exciting. Saul, Mamdani on food, chef's kiss or big miss?
I think this is one of the few times we've seen where there actually is a relevance of to like, I think like when every election we see like food reporters being like, check out like Kamala cooks, pretty cool, huh? Where it's like a stretch. This is, I think, pretty legitimate. Halal cards feature pretty heavily in Mamdani's videos and messaging. He had something called like Roti and Roses for like South Asian / socialist sort of tie over. Yeah, I think look, he seems to have a talent for translating issues of affordability into things people can relate to, and food would certainly be a big part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good idea. If you can do it authentically, it's not a bad idea at all.
I'm still really put off by the fact that Mamdani was on Football Weekly talking about soccer and the fact that he loves Arsenal on it. So it was so try hard that like now I see everything he does as really try hard. So, but I will say,
yeah, that's a tough. The Arsenal fandom is a tough look. There's like really not any coming.
Says an Arsenal fan. All right,
I am not an Arsenal fan. I've told you this a million times.
All right, moving on. Eater San Francisco's Alex Schultz dives into how a California bill went from requiring all restaurants to list allergens next to menu items while it was making its way through the legislature to only requiring chains with more than 20 locations to do so by the time the bill hit Newsom's desk. The piece points the finger at the California Restaurant Association for opposing the bill in its original form, seemingly making the case that the new law is now only a partial win. Saul, does the CRA's intervention here to narrow the types of restaurants that need to list allergens next to every menu item feel like a chef's kiss or a big miss?
Okay, let me say something. Like, I don't know how much of a lift that is for restaurants. It seems like it wouldn't be a big one, but maybe it is. I don't know. Plenty of places have restaurants that don't list allergens, and as far as I can tell, people are okay, but maybe they're not. Like, people aren't like dying constantly in restaurants from allergy attacks, but maybe they are. I don't think so. I think it should, like, generally speaking, things should be made as easy as possible for smaller restaurant and restaurant operators to operate. But again, like the trade-off, I just don't know the trade-offs on this. Like, is it really that hard to list your allergens? Probably not. So probably overall a big miss for your whatever allergic niece or whatever when she goes out and has like something has like
peanuts,
whatever, allium or some shit. Yeah. Whatever people can die from. But I don't know. I'm not super mad at this. I don't think I care that much. I will be honest. Someone else probably does. There are probably people who really care about it, right? Which is totally fair. I don't think I do.
To me, I think CRA's intervention is a chef's kiss, because I feel like, just as a rule, all restaurant regulations like this that don't massively impact the public good or public health should be piloted at least with chains with more than 20 locations. It just seems like a fair thing to do.
Sure. Yeah. It seems so. And like, again, what problem are we solving?
Yeah.
Like, aren't people with allergies asking what's in the food all the time? Like, what?
Aren't waiters doing that?
Right. Yeah. Like, what problem are we solving? I mean, and likely the places are not doing that more often, like, tend to be like bigger chain places, right? So I think it's fine. I'm not mad.
Yeah. Shame on you, Five Guys. All right, final one. Legendary Fairfax restaurant Genghis Cohen opened its doors at a temporary location after announcing that it was unable to renew the lease at its OG location just north of Fairfax and Melrose. The current spot is an interim solution while owners and friends of the pod, Mark Rose and Meta Brews, look for a new permanent home. For now, diners can enjoy Genghis Cohen's American Chinese classics at a restaurant 2 doors up from Badmash and a stone's throw away from Cantor's Deli. Saul, what do you make of interim locations for restaurants? Chef's kiss or a big miss?
Again, well, look, if you got to do it to stay open, chef's kiss, it's probably pretty rough. I feel bad. It's probably pretty rough on a restaurateur to operate in that way and to make sure customers know where you're at. I mean, chef kiss to keep it going. I'm not mad at it. I don't see why it would be a big miss. Do you have a take on that?
I think it's a chef's kiss. I think that this is a really creative solution to keeping the lights on while you are dealing with really tough red tape, which is not your fault, aka finding a good landlord,
Let me ask you this. Would it have been, this is not taking into account finances at all, and the finances might make it a reality that you just have to stay open and have to keep serving. Putting that aside, would it actually have been better if they were not temporarily open and then could come back with a grand reopening and be like, haha, didn't you miss us?
They can do it all.
Probably not.
They can do it all.
They probably not. Yeah, they can do that again. And then also you're not people aren't not eating your food and forgetting about you in the meantime.
Yeah. So we turns out that I persuaded you into agreeing with me. Something I do often.
I persuaded myself. That's what happened there.
You got a shitty Yelp review before we close?
A really long episode. Why don't we save it for next time for both of us? Yeah.
That's fair. I just want to give a really quick shitty Yelp review to my new building for not fixing the AC before we moved in. I've been sweating like a whore in church this entire podcast. No offense to whores or church, but it's just not been enjoyable. So shitty Yelp review goes to them. Saul, you deserve the opposite of a shitty Yelp review. Another fantastic performance by you. I look forward to seeing you bright and bushy-tailed Saturday morning at Cosm for a grand Chelsea victory over Liverpool.
I'd almost forgotten.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to our guest, Father Saul, for making the time for us as always. And my God, I hope he's racking up those air miles because he's been away from LA for far too long. And we miss him, dear listener. I know you miss him too. We'll be back next week with another epic episode. But if you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, even our website at the LA Countdown. That's TheLaCountdown. You can also find us on Instagram at It's Acquired Taste or our website, acquiredtastemedia.com. And I forgot to say, we would really, really appreciate it if you left us a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really, really means the world to us. See you next week.